Hello and welcome to the Keeping It Real show with Jackie. Today is Monday, 9/25, 2017. Thank you for tuning in to Keeping It Real. I am your host, Jackie Madison. Keeping It Real is a show dedicated to keeping it real by bringing you news, stories, and information, past, present, future, and up to date. Some topics and content may be controversial. Therefore, remember, although this is an adult show, we keep rudeness and discrimination out and welcome unbiased truth with respect and humanistic manners. If you have any problems, questions, comments, suggestions, or concern, please forward them to me at jjmadison001@gmail.com. I'm picking up today's show from the announcement on Friday, 9/15/2017, about ex-St. Louis police officer Jason Stockley's verdict of not guilty for the fatal shooting of a black man, 24-year-old Anthony Lamar Smith, who was shot and killed during a car chase in December 2011. In my initial broadcast on this subject, I expressed my disagreement with the judge's verdict. By the way, his name is Timothy Wilson, which is a coincidence. I wonder if he is in any way related to ex-St. Louis police officer Darren Wilson, who was acquitted of murdering Mike Brown Jr. August 9th, 2014. These murders that have been taking place by white police officers and in some cases by white citizens have sparked protests in St. Louis like none other that have taken place before. My messages on Keeping It Real is all about physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health and well-being. And I really want the black people of the United States to start moving toward a more unified front in which we will love, respect, and care for one another, regardless to where we live or who our birth family is. We need this mindset to spread into every black home and community. It's imperative for our survival as a nation. So, with that said, after the verdict, protesters were in downtown St. Louis and in the Central West End. 10 police officers were injured, and protesters threw rocks and other items at buildings. They were reported to be at Mayor Lyda Cruzence's home, where things were thrown through her windows. The protests were spurned by the injustice perpetuated on black people by white police officers, judges, law officials, and laws that were written in favor of white Americans. And as of today, protests are still taking place throughout Missouri. The theme of the protests are to stop the economic progress of big businesses until the truth is shed on police brutality within black communities. The history of the police force is something that I would like to share with you all because it is rife with injustices against black Americans. So, here is some information regarding the police states or law enforcement that was created by white Americans as a way of patrolling black slaves. Note that some form of law patrol or enforcement has always existed in society the world over in one form or another. In the United States colonies, early on there was a constable, then the system known as the watch. These were volunteers from colonial communities. In 1704, the colony of Carolina developed the United States' first slave patrol. This patrol consisted of roving bands of armed white citizens who would stop, question, and punish slaves caught without a permit to travel. They were civil rights organizations, controlled and maintained by county courts. The way the patrols were organized and maintained provided a later framework for preventive rather than reactive community policing, particularly in the South. In 1822, for example, Charleston, South Carolina experienced a slave insurrection panic caused by a supposed plot of slaves and free blacks to seize the city. In response, the state legislature passed the Negro Seamen's Act. requiring free black seamen to remain on board their vessels while in Carolina harbors. If they dared to leave their ships, the police were instructed to arrest them and sell them into slavery unless they were redeemed by the ship's master. Similarly, patrols such as the mounted guards were created, which were the forerunners to what eventually became the Border Patrol, were put into place to maintain minority quotas, among other things. So there we have it. The police force was created, in essence, to keep black people in order. All the white police officers and law officials are well known of this. They know that this law was created for this. They are protected by the law, therefore, they can pursue a black person and induce bodily harm if they feel threatened, and can kill you if they think you have a weapon. This information can be Googled on the internet, so look it up for yourself and do your research. And that's keeping it real. Next, I want to give a shout out to all the protesters for taking a stand against police brutality within black communities. I support you and encourage you to continue, but be safe and smart. The handcuffs police carry are similar to the chains of our ancestors that they had to wear, and their guns are the modern day rope or noose around black people's necks. The blatant murdering of black people has to stop, and we have to be respected as an intelligent people who can thrive and progress and contribute to society in a good, harmonious way like any other nation. The United States was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of many immigrants, but none like our black ancestors. Chattel slavery was the worst in any type of slavery in history. And that's what made this country the superpower that it is. It is therefore no nationality that has the right to call America home if the black people or the black nation can't. And that is keeping it real. Let's start looking at each other, every black person. Just look at each other like you would look at yourself or look at another family member. Stop the gang banging, violence, and animosity we have towards each other so that we can build ourselves up as a nation and build a united front to present our demands or laws, bills, or whatever to this country's government. Today in history, in 1957, Central High School was integrated. Under court escort from the U.S. Army 101 1st Airborne Division, 9 black students entered all white Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. 3 weeks earlier, Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus had surrounded the school with National Guard troops to prevent its federal court ordered racial integration. After a tense standoff, President Dwight D. Eisenhower federalized the Arkansas National Guard and sent 1,000 Army paratroopers to Little Rock to enforce the court order. On May 17, 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled unanimously in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka that racial segregation in educational facilities was unconstitutional. 5 days later, the Little Rock School Board issued a statement saying it would comply with the decision when the Supreme Court outlined the method and time frame in which desegregation should be implemented. And that's keeping it real. If you want more information on the 1957 school integration of Central High School or on Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, you can find that out by Googling it or just go to the History Channels, historychannel.com. Several NFL players continued to kneel in solidarity during the Pledge of Allegiance. What's your take on this subject? Personally, I feel that it's our right as citizens to peacefully protest in any fashion as long as it's not causing harm. Donald Trump has stated it's disrespectful for the NFL players to kneel during the allegiance pledge. This is a hot topic because we as citizens have the freedom to speak and exercise our freedom in any way as long as it's nonviolent. In other news, as a mental health professional, I advise anyone who is suffering from any form of depression, trauma, or abuse to reach out to a healthcare professional to get assistance in overcoming these concerns. Well, this wraps up today's show. Please leave comments below and I will respond accordingly. Until next time, may you always choose to keep it real.